Over the past several months, Democrats have had a lot to freak out about, and boy, have they. Their impeachment failed. Donald Trump raised millions of dollars off of the impeachment, saw his approval rating rise. He's had major court victories. And then Bernie Sanders started dominating the Democratic primary. So yeah, it's been a bit chaotic, to say the least. Well, once again, Democrats are freaking out. And I kind of hate to say it because I talk about this a lot, but you got to see some of these quotes in this story from The Hill. Democratic fears rise again as coronavirus pushes Biden to the sidelines. I mean, they're cussing over this. Donald Trump's on TV getting killer ratings. His approval rating has just reached a new record high. But wait, I'm not talking about yesterday's. That's right. Yesterday, I mentioned that Donald Trump's approval rating in the aggregate was higher than it's ever been, according to Real Clear Politics. And today, with new polls added, it is even higher. Donald Trump is on TV reassuring Americans, and Joe Biden is nowhere to be found. And when he does appear, he mutters and mumbles incoherently. In fact, one network chose to air Cuomo instead of the presumptive presidential nominee for the Democrats. But I'll tell you what, the media's attempt to protect Joe Biden is laughable, but boy, are they doing it. Now, I don't want to be, I don't want to exaggerate. There are many outlets that are calling out Biden, especially progressive outlets. But there are some articles that pop up that just make me laugh. They are desperately trying to make it seem like Joe Biden is doing something. Who's his vice presidential pick going to be? Nobody knows or cares, man. You got record ratings for Donald Trump and his approval ratings through the roof. I think we're done here. Donald Trump is going to sweep in November, and the media can try all they like, but there is still a last resort. Why, yes, the media is loving Andrew Cuomo, who's been doing these press briefings during the global pandemic, and now there's talk of drafting him. The New York Times writes a puff piece, but something interesting is happening here as well. You see, the media can't keep pretending that Cuomo is very different from Trump because they've been saying a lot of the same things. And now people are starting to wise up. Namely, progressives are calling out Andrew Cuomo for essentially saying the same things as Trump, but the media gives him a pass. Why is that? Because the people in media are Democratic activists, let's be honest. They know Joe Biden's out. They're trying to puff him up, but the reality is they need someone else. I don't think it's going to be Cuomo. I think Trump's got this one in the bag. You got to see his approval rating, man. This is nuts. For the first time ever in the ABC News Washington Post poll, Trump is above his positive. He's 2 points positive. That's crazy. So let's take a look. They've tried claiming it's bad news for the president. Nah, it's good news. The polls are biased, but let's see. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are several ways you can give, but the best thing you can do, share this video. I'm not entirely convinced everyone will want to hear it, but hey, the news is the news, and I'm going to show you these sources to back up what I have to say. But make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell because YouTube doesn't notify everybody. And often they suppress my videos, derank, demonetize, all that stuff. So if you really want to make sure you get these videos, then subscribe and hit the like button if you would be inclined. The Hill says, Democrats are growing increasingly anxious that Joe Biden is losing ground to President Trump as the nation deals with an unprecedented national crisis in the pandemic. This pandemic story has shoved the Democratic presidential primary race out of the headlines, just as the former vice president was seeking to pivot to the general election. It has made it easier for Bernie Sanders to stay in the primary fight, as there was less pressure from the media and Democrats for him to get out with the focus on the pandemic. At the same time, it's made it more difficult for Biden to get his message out. I'm sorry. Biden's difficulty getting his message out has to do with him having no message, and it has to do with him not being able to speak properly. But let's read on. Energy and enthusiasm that was surging towards the Biden campaign, on Super Tuesday, has largely devolved into a national angst over a damaged economy and a swiftly rising number of coronavirus cases and deaths. Democrats, already deeply worried about losing a second presidential election to Trump, have seen their fears grow higher, and some of them are pointing fingers at Biden and his campaign, who they say need to do a better job of getting Biden's message out nationally. What were you thinking nominating this guy? Man, I tell you, quote, it's the perfect cocktail of an S storm. I can't swear. We keep it family friendly. One Democratic strategist put it, hey, but the Democrats are swearing. A pandemic no one expected, a horrible president at the helm, and a repeat of the 2016 primary with a candidate doing damage to his own party. No one wants to be the a-hole that sounds the alarm, but it's pretty bad. Well, to get him swearing, I got to say, it must be right. Must be true. The pandemic has put even greater spotlight on Trump, who has become a central player in the daily briefings on his administration's coronavirus response. Trump's actions, as always, have divided the public. He's come under criticism in recent days for suggesting much of the country could reopen for business by Easter Sunday, April 12th, a time frame many public health experts say seems optimistic at best. But let me stop you right there, The Hill. This is coming from media pundits who are propping up Cuomo and Biden. So no, I won't take their comments seriously when the majority of the American people in the aggregate like what Trump is doing. And around the time Trump said we need to get back to work, his polls skyrocketed because Americans are paying attention. As my buddy Adam from the Timcast IRL podcast put it, all of these people are unemployed and at home. They're laid off. So they have nothing to do but to watch the news and see what Trump has to say. And they're seeing the media lie. Sorry, pundits, no one's buying it anymore. They say, yet polls have shown that a majority of the public approves of Trump's management of the crisis so far, something the administration has pointed to. Biden, meanwhile, has not even been the most prominent Democrat on the crisis. That spotlight has gone to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is dealing with the epicenter of the U.S. crisis in his state. It is only the end of March, with the general election still more than 7 months away. And some Democrats say their party is falling victim once again to perpetual worrying. Democrats are constantly panicked and riddled with anxiety. I am not, said Democratic strategist Michael Trujillo. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I've got a ton of videos where I'm saying Democrats panic, right? And I got to admit, I'm like, is this really happening? Like, how could this be? Every day a news story pops up in the media about some Democratic Party member freaking out or the party freaking out. They said it, not me. Democratic strategists said they are constantly panicked and riddled with anxiety. Dude, Trump is going to landslide. He noted that while Trump's approval ratings are at their highest level in 3 years, you mean for his entire presidency? A Gallup poll out this week showed that 49% approve of the job he's doing as president, while 45% disapprove. They still seem low for a president handling a national crisis. Give it time. I'm not kidding. Give it time. At such times, Americans often rally around their leader. This guy says, in a normal crisis, Trump would be at 70 plus approval. The fact that Trump and his cronies are celebrating the numbers they have today don't understand that the post-mortem coronavirus stories will be hitting his campaign at the same time. A well-rested and fully funded Vice President Biden is bringing it to him hard, he said. This is perfect for us. Nice try, buddy. Nobody's buying it. The American people appreciate what he's doing. And if this does extend, they will keep approving of him. Other Democrats are stressed that Biden is sidelined. In a normal campaign year and under normal circumstances, Joe Biden right now would be the spokesperson for the Democratic Party, said Democratic strategist Joel Payne, who worked for Hillary Clinton. But this is no normal time, and the Democratic nomination process seems frozen in place. What complicates matters further is that the coronavirus pandemic has prevented traditional campaigning and taken up all of the oxygen in the media echo chamber. Republicans have seized on the absence with frequent emails and comments asking, where's Joe? Biden this week sought to break through the noise, setting up a camera in his Wilmington, Delaware basement and speaking directly to voters. He also made an appearance by live stream on The View and did interviews with CNN and MSNBC. And this is where it gets really sad when the media is trying to prop this guy up. Enough, man. This guy he's not doing anything for anybody right now. It's over. But of course they'll try. On Thursday night, he appeared on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live in what was billed as an abbreviated quarantine digital edition of the late night show. He also held a virtual press conference with reporters this week where he attacked Trump for wanting to reopen businesses around Easter. He signaled he wanted to move on to the general election, dismissing the idea of another debate with Sanders. I think we've had enough debate, Biden told reporters, all quarantined in their own homes. I think we should get on with this. Democratic strategist Jim Manley said Biden finds himself in tricky terrain right now. My hope is that he's going to raise his visibility to show the contrast with Trump. Referring to Sanders, Manley said he should do the right thing and step aside, but it's clear that's not going to happen. Well, I think you get the point. They say, asked about the campaign's current playbook, a Democratic donor summed up, it's not great. At the same time, keeping Biden out of the news cycle also has its advantages. But to the extent this is a strategy, it's a strategy of letting Trump bury himself. Avoiding unforced errors is not a bad one, the donor added. If he were a commanding speaker and not prone to gaffes, I'd advise differently. It's kind of sad how desperate they are. They're saying, let Trump keep making mistakes. The American people don't think he's making mistakes. Who are you trying to convince? Oh, they're trying to convince a lot of people. Here's the New York Times. Opinion piece. What Joe Biden can do. 3 options on the politics of the coronavirus. Offer sharp, fresh criticism. He can name a shadow cabinet, and he can ignore the criticism and don't try to grab the spotlight. That's right. Joe Biden has a chance. Well, let me tell you, New York Times, you can give him all the advice in the world, but there is no better advice than what the Atlantic offered up. Joe Biden, stay alive. Excellent campaign strategy, I might add. Now, I'll pause because we'll be a bit, humorous here, but I hope Joe Biden stays healthy and well, for sure. No, I don't want to wish, illness or anything on anybody. I think Joe Biden shouldn't be in the race, but I certainly hope he remains healthy. I mean, these are times where people are getting sick. And, older people are more susceptible and more vulnerable. So for sure. But come on, take a look at this story from The Atlantic. Democrats need little from the frontrunner beyond his corporeal presence. Is that the best you can muster? Barack Obama had hope and change. Joe Biden has vote for me. I'm still alive. That's it. Okay, if you're a Democrat, you're not freaking out about this. I don't know what to tell you, man, because this is not there. I can't remember. Someone said this on Twitter. They're literally trying to run a nobody against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is smashing his ratings, his approval ratings. You're going to run a guy just because he's alive? Man, spare me. But of course, they do want to blame Bernie Sanders. Why can't Bernie accept that Democratic voters didn't want him? Well, Bernie's got an opportunity to win still. I mean, come on, what's Joe Biden doing? But let's take a look at how the media is coming for Trump. I love this one. CNN, they hate to admit it. President Trump is as popular as he's ever been right now. Wait. What do you mean he's as popular as he's ever been? He's more popular than ever. His approval rating is higher than ever. But no, CNN will single out the one poll where it shows him reaching a tie and then say, but in this one poll, he's only as popular as he's ever been. Yeah, because they know they have to address the fact that the American people like the president. You are losing grip on the public. I wonder at what point the media is going to just capitulate and say, most people like the president, so that's the narrative we'll accept. Because I don't trust them to have principles. They're only saying the things they're saying because they think most Americans hate the president. Chris Cillizza for CNN says, here's an indisputable fact. President Donald Trump is as popular today as he has been since his first day in office. Now, I'm going to stop you right there, buddy. I can dispute that fact. Trump is more popular today. And he was so back in August, according to the New York Times. We'll get to that. He mentions that in a new Gallup poll, Trump's approval rating is 49%, which is a tie for his highest. He then goes on to talk about, Trump's management of the crisis has shown people like what he's doing. 60% of Americans approve of the job he's doing. But he does go on to add, criticisms of Trump and trying to mislead. This seems to me like CNN begrudgingly having to cover this story. It would be weird if they didn't mention it, right? The reality is Trump is absolutely crushing it. The other day, I showed you that Trump's approval rating was 47%. His disapproval was around 49.5. Now, his disapproval is still higher, but this is the highest it's ever been. And as of today, with the release of a new ABC News Washington poll, Donald Trump's approval rating has once again climbed way higher at 47.3. This story back in August 7th, 2019. Don't assume Trump's approval rating can't climb higher. It already has. Millions of Americans who did not like the president in 2016 now say they do. They don't get it. They don't get it, man. Trump has been doing better and better throughout his entire presidency. The economy is a major issue for people, and they're having it better than ever. And no one blames him for this. Now, Cillizza over at CNN brings this up, that there's a couple reasons why this may be happening. And one of them is no one blames the president for the economic downturn, and they're hoping he'll do anything. They're hoping that he'll do his best, regardless of if it works. I honestly believe that's correct. I don't want to say that the CNN article is the worst article, but come on, guys. Give the dude credit. Americans are happy with the job Trump is doing. We can see it in the polls every single day. This is incredible stuff. But I think what we're seeing is, as I mentioned earlier, people are at home, unemployed, watching the news, listening to the president. These TV ratings are a smash hit. They see the media lie. But what they really see is a president who's trying to offer up optimism and hope, We're going to get you all back working. We're going to help you. We're going to get the stimulus package to you. The overwhelming majority of Americans, Democrat and Republican alike, want this stimulus check. And Trump said, we will get this to you. He also offered up hope with some clinical trials for potential treatments. And the media attacked him for it. You see, they thought they could get away with it this time because they've done it so often, taking Trump out of context and smearing him. But the American people got nothing better to do than watch the news. So when it comes to Trump's approval, in his handling of the coronavirus, I know I've shown you this in the past couple of days, but I got to show you that it keeps going up. Right now, 50.6% of people approve of the job Donald Trump is doing. And this includes polls from back on the 13th and the 11th. If you get rid of those, he is way above water. And this is nuts. But when a time of crisis hits, you can see that people actually care. They want to know what the president is doing to help them. And it's so easy to complain about Trump's attitude and his potty mouth. We can look at his favorability, actually. It's really easy to say, I don't like that guy, when you're not dealing with a crisis. His favorability has ticked upward a little bit. But you know what this shows? Trump's favorability floats around the same place, meaning there's a lot of people who just don't like the guy. But they approve of the job he is doing right now, more so than they care about who he is as a person. Trump might not win anyone over, but as Trump himself said, and I believe I'm paraphrasing, I could be wrong, but he said something like, I'm a mean guy, but I work for you. And right now, more than ever, it actually matters to a lot of people, especially when we're dealing with, as I know I've said it a lot, but it really is important. April 1st is coming. Rent checks will be missed, and the next wave of industry will be shuttered by the collapse of our economy. So Trump is working to get that kickstarted. Now, of course, you may have seen the news where they, as I mentioned earlier, they're propping up Andrew Cuomo, sidelining Joe Biden. But people are starting to question, wait a minute, Andrew Cuomo touted the same treatment plan as Donald Trump. How come nobody blamed him for that? Andrew Cuomo was delaying the shutdown in New York. Where was the criticism? I thought they criticized Trump for the same thing, not taking it seriously soon enough. Andrew Cuomo, he wants to reopen the economy. Same as Trump. Where is the media to drag this guy? Well, it's starting to emerge. The Columbia Journalism Review has this story. Glowing coverage of Cuomo also raises difficult questions. I would like to end off with this story because if the Democrats are freaking out now about Joe Biden's potential and they're betting on a plan B with Cuomo, it seems that progressive media is starting to understand Cuomo is not a saint either, and that he is ripe for attack as well, because the progressives want Bernie Sanders. So Columbia Journalism Review is more of a progressive outlet. They've published some fake news in the past, but here they are going after Cuomo. Now, I must point out, a lot of this really is, it's complimentary to the man, to say the least. They go on to talk about how there's all this really, really great coverage, but they say something interesting. Cuomo is giving a lot of these journalists access, and they don't want to jeopardize that access by criticizing him. They know if they call him out, there's going to be a phone call to their news organization and someone's going to get cut off. They can't have that. So this is access journalism. Say good things. They say reporters who write critically of Cuomo know they can expect an angry administration phone call, not usually on the record. Before and after publication, I've personally been cursed out by Cuomo's aides. While this tactic to an outsider may seem alienating, it's a savvier approach to take because journalists prize engagement. They want to know the press office is responsive in some way. And Cuomo aides are known for answering emails and phone calls quickly. Even if they find the line of questioning hostile, they go to war without scorching the earth. So now we get to the juicy stuff. None of this should excuse the media writ large from taking a more critical approach to Cuomo's handling of the pandemic. There have been relatively few questions since he initially dismissed de Blasio's call for a shelter-in-place policy for New York City, only to implement almost exactly what the mayor asked for several days later. On Monday, March 16th, Cuomo said he would not impose a requirement similar to San Francisco's, which called for people to stay home as much as possible, and close most businesses. A top Cuomo administration official said there was no consideration of de Blasio's shelter-in-place policy. But by Sunday, March 22nd, a statewide order from Cuomo known as Pause was doing just that. Cuomo drew praise for his decisiveness. That's right. The media propped him up when he downplayed this. What did he say? He said something like, "Get real, Bill," or something. He's like, "Get with it, Bill," to Bill de Blasio. We are not shutting this down. It will not happen. And guess what? The New York City Democrats, they were the ones going on TV saying, go out and go party. And now we wonder why New York is doing so miserably. Bad leadership. Look, in these times, I will give my support to the best of my ability to the president and to Cuomo as it pertains to this pandemic. I'm not necessarily a fan of either. That's neither here nor there. The issue at hand is they need to succeed. But Andrew Cuomo, for all of the puff pieces about him, has said numerous things the same as the president. They say, most importantly, the same question must be asked of Cuomo that journalists are rightly demanding of Trump. Why weren't you more prepared? New York is a global city. The virus was ravaging China in January and was likely to reach the 5 boroughs. Why wasn't the state of New York ready to enact harsher policies, closing down schools, businesses, and major gathering places when the first COVID-19 case appeared on March 1st? Why in January didn't New York plan for these inevitable closures, informing parents schools might close and businesses couldn't operate normally? Why was the severity of COVID-19 denied, with Cuomo succumbing to public pressure to enact tough measures when it was effectively too late? Why is a governor being praised for his leadership skills when a shelter-in-place order came 22 days after the first coronavirus case? Why is New York City the next Northern Italy? These are the kinds of questions that will take more than a PowerPoint slide to answer. Bravo, good sir. It's about time someone in the media called this guy out. Cuomo, not sure if closing all businesses, keeping everyone home was the best public health strategy. Boy, sounds a bit like Donald Trump. But is the media going to call him out? They are not. They're going to keep singing his praises. Now, of course, they're tearing into Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio let everyone down. The Intelligencer writes, this is David Friedlander for the New York Mag, Intelligencer. When New York needed him most, Bill de Blasio had his worst week as mayor. Cuomo is getting some flack right now. I'm surprised. He's made many missteps. I'm not going to sit here and screech in his face. I'm not going to sit here and screech in Trump's face either. Just please, guys, get the job done. I know no one's perfect, and hindsight is 20/20. The answer to those questions about why he didn't do a better job, same goes for him and everyone else, including the media. Hindsight is 20/20. We didn't know, and we could have and should have done better. And maybe we'll do it next time. I don't know. Humans have short memories, unfortunately. But the Democrats themselves are facing one of their worst weeks ever. Bill de Blasio is getting torn up in the media. Now some outlets are starting to question Cuomo, who's their new shining star. Joe Biden, nowhere to be seen. And more importantly, Donald Trump's approval rating is breaking records. To be above water for the first time in the ABC News Washington Post poll is serious because both those outlets tend not to like the guy. This has been a very, very bad week for Democrats. One of their worst. And it's about time we stopped making it about partisanship. We had Nancy Pelosi and Schumer want to inject a bunch of provisions into the stimulus bill. This triggered one Republican to say, no, we're going to do a record vote on this because I don't agree with what they've put into it. The Democrats delayed the stimulus to the American people. Now it could be too late. They have done nothing but burn everything to the ground. They're incoherent. They're fighting among themselves. Trump, on the other hand, is just doing better and better, and the American people can see it. We'll see what happens come November, but more importantly, I guess we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I hope the best for everybody. I hope everyone stays healthy. I hope we get through this one and the economy recovers. I'm concerned about what happens in the next week, but we will see. I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel, and I will see you all there.